Hello, everyone. Taking on a live question time. I just hope you can hear me okay. I've got a new microphone now, so hopefully you'll be able to hear me a little bit better. I decided on a new microphone because when I done the episode, the first episode with our commentary and all of that, they couldn't really pick my the noise up all that well, my voice over the episode in the background. So I hope I'm sounding better with this microphone. Okay. So any questions, you know what to do, just ask away and I'll answer them as soon as I see them up on the screen. It can be about anything to do with on the buses, it can be about the... That's good, that's good. Anything to do with on the buses at all, or the cast, the crew, filming locations, episodes, films, the walking tours I do, or the events organised. Anything like that, post up your question. As soon as I see them on the screen, I'll answer them for you. Let's see. Okay, so pop your questions up. One that keeps cropping up as well, it's cropped up on my Facebook page again the last few days, is about Reg Farney and how much driving he actually did. Fact of the matter is, I mean, he didn't have a license to drive the bus. Didn't have the license to drive the bus. Well, he had his PSV license. He wasn't insured, is what I mean to say. He wasn't insured. So basically, if he had an accident while filming a scene from on the buses, London Weekend, if it was a TV series, would have been fined a heck of a lot of money. Hammer, if it had been the films, would have been fined a heck of a lot of money. And Eastern National, whose buses were getting used in the television series, they would have been, well, they would have been sort of like at a stage of, depending how serious that would have been, they would have been in a position where they could have had a license revoked for running a passenger fit service and all that. So it was a sort of thing where they weren't going to take those sorts of risks. I've come across newspaper reports as well, anyway, that distinctly says that the bus drivers, professional bus drivers, were hired out filming scenes as well, which is evidence again. If you watch the films, especially the films that you see when the bus shelter's getting knocked down in the telephone box, you can see that as just what do you call it? That is just back projection that they use there. So Reg isn't actually there. The same with all the scenes at the safari park. Like when you see the monkey sitting on the steering wheel, you can see that as just a studio projection again. And that was used a lot of the times. I'm not saying that he never drove the bus at all, but it would have been, had to have been in very carefully managed situations. He did drive the bus going back into the depot and stopping in the depot and starting the bus up in the depot. But if there was any sort of like remotely dangerous scenes where the bus is heading along a high street, you can guarantee that was a professional bus driver doing that. Plus, you've got to remember as well that only 3 years earlier he had a heart attack. You know what I mean? So they would have been very wary about putting too much strain on them, asking them to do too much anyway. So it was handy having them being able to drive a bus because you could do the little things to make it all look more authentic, like starting buses up and all of that. Then it made everyone think, oh yeah, it's really authentic. There he is sitting in the cab, starting the bus up and everything like that. But then once it cuts to the bus out in the street, going along our street and all of that, that would have been a professional driver in there. Especially if you look at a lot of the scenes on the TV series, they the bus is a long way away, or you see the rear of the bus, which tells you something straight away. They don't want to let you see who's in the bus driving it. They just let your mind believe that it's Reg or Stan, sorry. Right, hold on now, right. Yeah, my colleague who organises the event made contact with the first jockey, which was Glenn Witter, but he passed away sadly, so he's no longer with us. So he made contact with him maybe just a few months before he passed away. He was able to get me a signed photograph of him and all of that. But the second jockey in Series 7 was played by Jules Walter. And he has actually been to one of our the Bowden Wood event, 2019. He's in his 90s now, but still very lucid, got his marbles and remembers things that he done and all of that. Still very sharp, if you know what I mean, mentally. So that's Jules Walter. So that's the two people that played Chalky. As for Michael Sheard, now Michael Sheard passed away about, I don't know, maybe 8-10 years ago. Of the main cast, the only main cast member that I've actually physically met has been Anna Karen through several events that I've done up in Preston and back down in Bowden Woods. When I really got into on the buses, sadly a lot of the cast had passed away. Bob had passed away, Doris had passed away, Michael had passed away. And so you only had Stephen, Reg, and Anna then. But that time, Reg was down in Devon, and he was sort of like an old people. Just moved into an old people's home, so he's about 90 then. Stephen Lewis, I did attend his funeral. I did meet a couple of times. I met his nephew, who was actually in an episode of On the Buses, Peter Lewis. So I garnered a lot of Stephen's thoughts through Peter, who he was very close to. That was his actual real life nephew. He was actually in the episode The Kids Outing, but he didn't actually play Blakey's nephew. That was Sheridan L. Russell. He actually played just a nameless kid on the bus, if you see what I mean, in that episode. You do see Peter, who I'm talking about, and some of the photographs, if you look around, of Bob Grant's wedding, when they're everybody's on the top deck of the bus, all the crew, the cast. Sorry, and over on to one side of the bus, you see a little boy sitting on his own. That's actually Peter Lewis there, but Peter sadly passed away not so long ago as well. So the only ones in the main cast I've met, sadly, was Anna, and I've met like the writers lots of times. Sadly, they both passed away now as well. And a whole lot of the other people that were in episodes and the spin-off films as well. Probably about maybe 40 or something like that, maybe 40 to 50. I think the time had been passed for that now, if you know what I mean. For a plaque to go up for a series that was filmed sort of like maybe 50 years ago or something like that, that would be down to sort of like the people that would hold clout for that would obviously be obviously if residents had any objections to it, it wouldn't happen. It needs sort of like it would have to be, I suppose, the local council at Enfield would need to be contacted with that as well. Well, it depends, Tony. I mean, if he was obviously, if you're taking Reg back about 30, 40 years, then I'm sure he'd still, like, if he had been about in his pomp about 40 or 50 at the time, then I'm sure he would have done. I'm sure he would have love to have still been doing. He would have still been doing stuff today. Obviously, if the body had permitted it. Obviously, in his last few years, I mean, obviously he was in his 90s. So if you were to say to him, work with new comedians of today, sort of like when you were 40 or 50, then he would probably have done it, no problem. And if you see what I mean. But whether how you would have fitted in is a different matter, because comedy today is so much different from comedy back in Reggie's day, if you see what I mean. Bob was in the spin-off film of Till Death Us Do Part. He was in that spin-off film. He wasn't in any sitcoms as such. He'd done his like pilot episodes of Milko, which was a sitcom, a proposed sitcom after On the Buses that Anna Karen was going to be in. And so you've got also he done the Jug Brothers, which he co-wrote with Stephen Lewis, which was 1970, but no other sort of sitcoms. Like he wasn't in anything like of that time of like Steptoe and Son or The Likely Lads or anything like that. Nah. I've been in the past, yeah, with I was in contact with Ronnie's widow for a bit, but sadly Ronnie's widow's even passed away now, so um they passed. Jean contacted a while back by email. I think that was for an invite to an event, but obviously she lives down in Devon. She's a teacher now as well. I think it was to ask her to come to an event, but she couldn't make that. My colleague who organised the events with has been in contact with Kim Benwell, but she's still very fragile, talking about Bob and all of that. Sad way that he passed away, if you see what I mean. I'm still in touch with Anna, obviously. Stephen, I was in touch with his nephew, Peter, but sadly he's passed away now as well. And I have had contact with Doris's daughters, Kate and Megan, is it? So yeah, I've been in contact with Doris's relatives as well. What would be good on a record store day for a green vinyl? I don't understand what you're on about, Martin. I don't think it really had good ratings, Tony. If you see what I mean, it wasn't the best of ratings when it was on, so it's not the sort of thing that they would repeat now. Anyway, they'll only screen things from yesteryear, if you will, that was popular back then. Like you get Man About the House and Georgia Mildred and On the Buses, all of them getting repeated, but um, Don't Drink the Water never fell into that class, I'm afraid. You know what I mean? It's like saying, why don't they repeat the Dustbin Men, or not the Dustbin Men, but why don't they repeat like the Bottle Boys or something like that? Because basically it didn't get the viewers, if you know what I mean. There's going to be an audience there for it, for people to actually, for them to actually show it. But when it originally aired, it was nowhere near as popular in terms of viewers as On the Buses was, if you know what I mean. So On the Buses made its mark and it lived on, and still has big fan base today, which is partly the reason you get it on the telly today. But Don't Think the Water wasn't like that, if you see what I mean. Oh yeah, no doubt, Limey, without a doubt. I was in contact with Michael's wife as well. How she came to my book launch, and I had a quick chat with her in a wine bar after it and all of that, which was really nice. Lovely lady, but sadly she's passed away now as well. And I think his son and daughter was there as well, Ben and Kate, is it? So that was really nice. No, you can see it if you want. I love it as well. The original, I've got it as my site. Well done. Wait there. You just hold on a tick. Uh, that's my ringtone. There's nothing like it, you'll agree. Just take a ride upon the buses, because there's plenty you can see. That's my ringtone that I've got. That's how much I like it. Jonathan. I think, is it Jonathan? Yeah, Jonathan. I don't know if they would do that, Martin, if you see what I mean. There's not really, again, like the don't drink the water thing, there's not really a market for it, if you see what I mean. Limey, well, I'm not too sure. Probably at the moment, I would say the sitcom that would probably investigate, research, and all of that would probably be something like Still Game. All of the other ones from my from sort of like bygone eras, have all been covered to death. So there's absolutely no point in even bothering with sort of like researching to write books on things like. I mean, I really love Porridge. Absolutely brilliant sitcom, but that's been done to death, and it can't be better for the books that are out there. You've got books that have got Ronnie Barker's input and on, or you've got a book written by the actual writers, Dick Clement and Ian Frenay, so you can't better that. So there's no point in even trying. The Carry On films are loved, but they've all been done to death in terms of digging in to and writing books about it, if you see what I mean. It'd be one probably like I would say something like Still Game. I watched the Ragtrade Wicker Man. Yeah, watched the Ragtrade, which is great. I'm not sure if I've seen any other ones, but Ragtrade I definitely watched. The ringtone, as for the why it wasn't used any other film. Well, films all had their own sort of like themes. It's like the Carry On films. You didn't say to the Carry On films, why don't you stick with the same Carry On theme? That was part of the sort of like the novelty of a new film coming out, a new theme, new all new cast and whatnot. You know what I mean? So that's why they only stuck with it for that film. Yeah, it can be, but I've had a bit of ill health myself lately, so it's probably a blessing because I'm not really in the sort of state to get around for things like that at the moment. I'm off with work-related stress and all that at work, and I've got some like breathing issues as well. So I've got high blood pressure. So there's a few side issues anyway. So It's probably, even if I could get out and about at the moment, I probably couldn't, if you see what I mean. So it's maybe just a good job, if you see what I mean, at the moment. But it will, I'm sure sometime it will get done. There's plenty of time to get round to getting them visited and photographed and all that. No, not just that though, Jonathan. It's nothing to do with the budget. It's all to do with they have different musical production side of things, if you know what I mean, as well. So um, that was the whole thing. They brought in the whole new musical team for the second film, and then again for the third film, if you know what I mean. Second film was done by Ron Gray, now the theme. Third film after that was done by Jeff King. Was it Jeff King? It's Jeff King. All right, yeah, yeah. Pleased to meet you, Toaster. I remember seeing that name around on the buses and on the buses site and all that. Yeah, because as well with the first film, there's a bit of friction as well on the first film, the musical side of things. You had Jeff Unwin wrote the music, and Roger Ferris was the musical director. But it was a bit of friction and bust up there. I think Hammer didn't exactly play ball with both of them, if you see what I mean. Shafted them a bit on the payment side of things. But both, well, not both, one of them, Jeff Unwin, believes that it was all down to Roger Ferris, which it wasn't, because I know Roger's been to events and all of that. So so there's that as well why there wouldn't have been the same music writing team for the second and third films. I think Hammer done it like that because we're trying to cut back on budgets and all of that. So that was a side of that. And as I said, anyway, it was another film, so it made sense to have a totally new theme for it as well. Otherwise, I know for a fact if he had had a second film with the same music, he said, "Oh, not this again. Why isn't there a new theme?" You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. Met George Layton at I think when they went to they put on a special show at the Shaw Theatre in London just after I think Ronnie Wilford died. It was like a tribute show to him. I was lucky enough to attend that, and I think George was there. He said a few things what it was like about working on the buses and all of that. Didn't get long to speak to him. I don't think if I even did at all. We also was there as well. The LWT exec, he's not there anymore, but went on to be at the BBC. Can't remember his name now. I'm not sure. I think Jonathan Lynn might still be alive. Um, but possibly, quite possibly, because Lonnie Wolf and Ronnie Chesney have passed away. Jonathan Lynn might still be with us. Obviously, Stephen and Bob have passed away. Um, Miles Rudge, I think, has passed away. He was the only solitary writer. Gary Chambers, you might be lucky with Gary Chambers and Wally Marston. I'm not too sure if they're still with us. I seem to be able to tell you my book here. Obviously, but this book came out a few years ago. But let's see. Nah, well, Wally Marston passed away sadly in 1998 with stomach cancer. Gary Chambers. I think Gary Chambers passed as well. That's it. That's the thing. I toast. Well, sorry, Wicker Man. Um, that's it. It's 50 years. I mean, you're really struggling. That's the thing that we've got with the event that organised down in Boreham Wood. You're really always going to struggle to get guests for those events now because so many of them are such a great age. Especially that's why this year I'm not doing one because obviously they're all in the vulnerable age group. When there's still a pandemic kicking around, you can't be going on putting on events asking people that are in a vulnerable category to come to attend an event just now the way things are. So that's why I decided not to do one this year. Yeah, hopefully I intend to sort of like do some more location, not location, episode commentaries, if you know what I mean. But it's a job getting them to stay because a lot of them might get taken down for copyright because obviously it's episodes that you're putting on there, which is sort of like protected by LWT. Although I feel that I'm offering more of a it's nothing to do with I'm making any money out of it. It's to put it up there for people to get a little bit extra out of those watching those episodes, if you see what I mean. Well, I'm sure you'll be able to find that easy enough, Jonathan. It's just uh, deserve. Yeah, deserve. Sorry, it's more like deserve. It's pronounced. Somebody put me up on this on my locations for the press Saturn ones again. I think it's pronounced deserve. Yeah, yeah. I hope to, as I say, I hope to do them. That's why I got this new microphone because the first one there was people saying that they couldn't really hear what I was saying when the episode was running. So I hope to do more of them. I hope to get them to the point of where they're not getting blocked by YouTube as well, because that can very easily happen when you're doing these sort of reaction videos, if you know what I mean. So that's the other hurdle to overcome as well. Yeah, Jonathan. Deserves only like about it's only about a couple of miles to the south west of Prestatyn, really. About 2 miles southwest of Prestatyn. Yeah, hopefully I've just got to get the knack of it's the same with when I tried to do commentary of holiday on the buses, but that didn't get through either because it was taken down for breach and copyright. Even though I was speaking over it all the time, it wasn't just a pure run through the film and nothing else. It was me speaking over a lot of it, but sadly that got blocked and wasn't able to put that up. The other ones I managed to get up by doing them a different way, as I've seen on the group. If you go and have a look. By the way, if there's anyone here that's watching and all of that, Remember to hit that subscribe button. It costs nothing to subscribe, and anytime I put any new material, any new videos up, you'll be the first to hear about it. You'll get a little message to say that there's new content for you to look at. So remember, if you've not already done it, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button down at the bottom corner of the screen there. Worst episodes are the ones that I've got. I find, to my experience, are ones that have got the are awash with negative emotions. So, like you've got the episode, Olive's divorce, with Olive's always crying in it. You've got the visit with Blakey's mum, who's really a nasty piece of work. You've got the earliest one that I didn't like was the episode. Charlotte Howard's in it anyway. I can't remember the name of it just now. It's the last episode in Series 4 anyway, where Stan gets fleeced of all his wages. It's bugging me. I'm going to have to look up in my book. I can't. The names just escaped me just now. It's not the other woman. Or it might be the other woman. No, it's not. It's not. It's Not Tonight. That's it. I think. Is it? Yeah. It's Not Tonight. That's what episode it is. That's the sort of like the earliest one that had a lot of negative emotions in it. And so it's those ones again that's with the negative emotions that just didn't cut it for me. It's too much on the negative side, too many, like it wasn't nice the way she treated them and all of that. Later on, you've got the ones, the one with where Olive's always crying in it. Then you've got the one with Blakey's mum, who's a really nasty piece of work. That episode has sort of saved a bit, the visit, by the bingo calling by Jack. That's always a good watch, that scene. It's very good, the bingo scene, if you know what I mean. I like the episodes for that, but not the when Blakey's mum's in it and all of that. So they're the probably 3 episodes. If you were, I wouldn't say I hated them. I just didn't find them as enjoyable as other ones, if you see what I mean. It probably would have gone ahead, Jonathan, because I think I can't remember the exact date of the Wogan show, but it was 1990. I think Michael passed away in like December 92. So there was still time there to fit a window of opportunity. If they had have got the funding, they probably would have been started filming by the end of 1990. So it would have went ahead if the funding hadn't have been screwed, if you see what I mean. Oh, there's a whole number of ones there from the Series 3 that you could put into the classic. That's why the golden series of On the Buses is definitely Series 3. It's just got a whole line of classic episodes that you could say it would end up in a lot of people's top 10 episodes. You've got Foggy Night, Radio Control, The System, Mum's Last Fling, Brew It Yourself, and, a whole load of ones, The Squeeze, they just roll off your tongue, if you see what I mean. So many episodes throughout Series 3. Nah, Limey, nah. They all decided that before the end of Series 7 that it was going to be the last, or at least towards the end of it, they would have decided. So they wouldn't have even bothered starting to write for the next series, if you know what I mean. They wouldn't really have done that anyway in normal circumstances, because you normally had like about a 3-4 month gap before another series came around. So that would have been the time that we would started writing once they knew that Series 8 was going ahead. So they definitely wouldn't have been drafting scripts, I would say. Yeah, yeah, the original writers, Lonnie Wolf and Ron Chesney, were going to do the 1990 reboot. Yeah, they were writing, supplied the script for it. Which locations changed the least? Probably the cemetery gates, because it's something that don't really change at all. Anyway, they've not changed. Thinking of other ones that haven't changed. Probably it springs to mind straight away as the cemetery gates. I would say off the top of my head. There's others that are sort of like of streets and houses, but they all change over time. You get things added like satellite dishes and all that. They weren't there then when they filmed there, but you haven't got any of that problem at the cemetery gates. So we'd definitely say the cemetery gates. Another one that's not changed all that much at all as well is the waterfall shop that's seen in Holiday on the Buses. Um, Yeah, yeah, the script was written. It's in the book. It's in the. If you want it, you can have a. It's in Ronnie Wolf's book, My Life and Memoirs. That's all the script there. It's all there. It's at the back of the book there, the pilot script. If you can see that, it's all there. That's it all there. That was all the script right there. But as for your idea of get a new cast to film it, forget it. I always say when people suggest on doing a new cast for it, just forget it. What is the point? It's like trying to replace a diamond with a lump of coal. There's no point. Look at Porridge. I mean, the Porridge reboot that they tried was absolutely sinful, and that was the same writers that done it, but it was an absolute travesty. So forget about doing any of these remakes and reboots. They don't work. They're a big no-no for me as far as I'm concerned. I can't think of any remakes that I've sat and watched that have been anything a patch on the original. So I would say a big juicy no-no to that one. But yeah, the book, Jonathan, anyway, is it's called My Life and Memoirs. If you want to Google it, it's called My Life and Memoirs, and it's published by Kaleidoscope. Kaleidoscope published that. That's the publishing sort of like mark there. And it was called Ronnie Wolf, My Life and Memoirs. If you're interested in that book, you might find a copy on eBay. It's probably the best place to look because it is long out of print now. It's been out of print for a few years. Oh, there's plenty. There's plenty. If you see what I mean, there's a lot that sort of like comes as a surprise when you first see it. Like Terry Duggan, Anna's wife. He was one of the gorillas and at the start in one of the suits in the start of 2001: Space Odyssey. Stuff like Bob Grant, he used to be a bus driver himself. That came as a surprise when I found that out. There's a lot of stuff that surprises you when you're researching and you dig up all sorts of things. But the writers wouldn't think that way, Jonathan. That's the thing. I mean, the writers were at my events a lot of the times. They must have been at about maybe 80% of them. That all of the events have been up until now, maybe about 75% of them until they were at every one until they got ill and passed away, sadly. And they said when they were asked about doing a new version today, and they said no, because it was the cast that made it what it was, and nobody else could do it like the cast had done it. So that just says it all, really. I wasn't, in fairness, Wicker Man, I wasn't really a big fan of Open All Hours, even the original series. I love Ronnie Barker and everything he'd done. It's the reason watching it is for Ronnie Barker alone for me. But I've got a big gripe about what's his name, Roy Clark sitcoms. They're just awash with repetitivity. They're just repetition in a lot of the gags, and it really grates with me. So, I mean, that's why a lot of the Roy Clark sitcoms, they don't work for me. Like Open All Hours, I had the same gags all the time, like Spring and Telgore, the barking dog thing and all of that, and keeping up appearances and bouquet, not bucket, and all of that. It was just sort of like regurgitating the same gags over and over again, and it was really grating, if you see what I mean. There was no real surprises there. It was like whenever you saw Mrs. Bucket going down past that car, you knew the dog was going to come out and she'd fall into the hedge. It was the same, really. So I had a big thing about not liking Roy Clark's things. I watch Open All Hours just for Ronnie Barker. It was just a total and absolute genius, if you see what I mean. South Down, Jakey Bear. He was a bus driver for South Down. It'd be hard to know, Limey. He's in the States. He lives in the US, I do believe now. The other thing that surprised me going back as well was like Glenn Campbell, not Glenn Campbell, Gavin Campbell. When I spoke to him on the phone once, and he told me that they dubbed his voice for the film. It wasn't until a few years later when he was watching it, you saw it for the first time, and he noticed that it wasn't his voice as a policeman. So that was a surprise as well. Another nice surprise that I got. This is before he passed away. It must have been maybe we're talking maybe. Well, it's got to be about 10 years ago now. Um, I got hold of, I emailed Aubrey Morris, but of course he lived over in the States then, in Los Angeles and all of that. I gave him my contact details. One day when I was at work, my mobile rang, picked it up, and it's Aubrey Morris. He actually phoned me from the States. And really lovely it was. He said, give all my love to the On the Buses family, tell them I said hello and all of that. A really lovely bloke. And so that was really a big surprise as well when he actually phoned me up from Los Angeles, if you see what I mean. Yeah, and that's like, of course, Gavin, of course, I meant. Um, so how is everyone? Can everyone hear me nice and loud and clear? Like, how is this compared to the microphone that used to use as the one that's integrated into the computer? If you see what I mean. So I take it this must be of better quality. Obviously, I can't hear what I sound like, but does it come across as better sound than the microphone that I've used before? All right, that's good then. That's all I need to know, really. Um, yeah, so that has been going back to that question, which is a good one about anything that surprised or shocked me. There's some things that sort of like that happen that isn't necessarily about them being on the buses, but like as I say, Aubrey phoning me up from Los Angeles or something like that was really nice. A real nice surprise that was. That's great because that's obviously it's an upgrade on the one that I had before, which is, as I said, is one that's just in. I think it must be integrated into the front of the like I've got an all-in-one desktop, you see, so it must be integrated into the front of the screen, if you see what I mean. Now you're talking surprises in terms of filming locations as well would be one. Hold on, you got my question. It's not a bad episode. It's not a bad episode. It's got some really great locations in it, so that helps sort of like helps it if you see what I mean. It's an adventurous episode, shall we say? It was a bit it was out there, if you see what I mean, like trying to have it staged back in the 1920s using authentic old vehicles and all of that, having to find the sort of like the right location to film it in as well. So we went to a lot of trouble for that. So I wouldn't say that it was the funniest episode, but it wasn't the worst episode either, if you see what I mean. Yeah, yeah, Wicker Man, same year. That was a very good episode. She would have been very good for maybe an introduction into it if that had been an eighth series. Of course, that wouldn't have happened anyway, because around the time that her episode was on, would have been just shortly after that when she was starting Man About the House. So whether that would have been possible to introduce her in as a full-time clippy, if you know what I mean, that was also giving Blakey grief for Series 8 would have been an interesting way forward, if you know what I mean. Or if they had maybe introduced her earlier on in the series, maybe signed it up for the half of the series once Reg had left, so that it would give a sort of replacement, if you know what I mean. It was the same idea, but it wasn't certainly wasn't repeated. I mean, all they done in the TV series was they got in touch with the airplane, and that was it. But in the films, they could expand it. They had more time. Nah, it wasn't nothing to do with running out of ideas. They thought the idea in the TV series was really good, but obviously because the episodes have only got 24 minutes to work on it, you have to compress everything down smaller, so they couldn't get the same amount of gags out of it that they felt they could have done, if you see what I mean. But they could by bringing it into the films and expand it and put all of the jokes in that they wanted. And then, like in the films, you didn't see policemen getting contacted in cars, getting picked up, a couple of drunken tarts and all that. You didn't see a policeman on a beat getting picked up on his radio either. So there was certainly a lot there that was different to make it different enough from the radio controlled scene in the episode, if you see what I mean. All they done in the episode was fiddle with the radio. They got hold of the airplane going overhead, and they made some sort of like jokes over there to Blakey. That was it. But apart from that, there was a lot more in the radio control scene in the films to make it different enough. It certainly wasn't a repeat like if you watch the Rise and Damp film. Rise and Damp is basically 3 episodes stitched together, virtually the same script and everything, if you know what I mean. It's totally just stitched together. That wasn't the case with the radio control scene, or even the scene when Olive works in the depot canteen like she does in a Serious One episode. Again, that had a lot more in it. You didn't see Blakey getting electrocuted or anything like that in it because he wanted to expand it, if you see what I mean. They had much more gags that they had that they couldn't use in the TV series because they had shot such a short space of time, whereas in the films they did. No, Anna was the youngest cast member. Yeah, but it was younger than Reg. Obviously, that's why how they managed to do so well, just by putting a little Hitler and moustache on them and a bit of pencil lines to make it look like wrinkles as well. So that's how it sort of like worked really. I think he was about. I think he was in his mid 40s when he started on the buses in '69. So, have you got any more questions? Just post them up, and I'll answer them as soon as I see them. Probably porridge. I would say. I'd have to say porridge. Porridge, and then maybe stepson son or still game. Yeah, that was a spin-off to it. Obviously he had retired from working at the depot and had moved out to Spain with his sister. Yeah, it's called Lots of Luck. Dom DeLuise came out, started in about 71, I think, or 72. Nothing like the British version, though. Don't expect it to be if you go looking for an episode to watch, because obviously it was made totally. Obviously, it was set in a bus station, but obviously over there they didn't have conductors, didn't have inspectors, so that killed 2 characters off straight away. Um, no, just different. I couldn't say because it's not made to appeal to me. It was made to appeal to the American audience because that's what it is. That's who it's trying to attract. When they make things like that, they make it to appeal to the people that are going to be watching it, which is the American audience. As we know, the American sense of humour is far different from the British sense of humour, so it's going to be different, without a shadow of a doubt. That's just the way it is, isn't it? As I was saying, you didn't have any conductors on the buses. It was actually set. It wasn't set. You didn't see any buses in the show either because it was set with the character of Stan working in our lost property department in the bus station. I don't think so. No, I don't think I could see it or think of another offshoot series. If there was to be one, it would probably be one with Bob Grant in it. I would imagine. His character had sort of like the mileage for another sitcom, if you know what I mean, another a spin-off series. I don't know what it would have been though, obviously. Um, Whether they had them sort of like go to do another job or something like that, somewhere else, and they carried on the same way, sort of like struck up new friendships or something. Whether it was another bus company, I don't think that would really have really worked because it'd been too samey. It would need to been another type of job where that same sort of banter and all that was going on. Not too sure what or where, but maybe that's the sort of thing that I could see would be with Bob Grant, really, because his character had still had a lot of potential, if you know what I mean. Because obviously, when On the Buses had ended, Michael had left it by then, so there wasn't really any way that they could have done one with Michael Robbins. Um, Stephen got his sort of like spin off, if you know what I mean. And Reg had already left as well. So I would say it would definitely have been Bob. I wouldn't even go there basically, and it's because it's not going to happen because the copyright for any sort of omnibuses has to be passed by the estates of Ronnie Wolf and Ronnie Chesney, and as I said. They were at an event and they said no, they didn't. It wouldn't work with anybody else other than the original cast, so it kills it dead in the water straight away anyway. So it's not really even worth sort of like thinking about. It's just not going to happen. I mean, what's the point anyway? My point on this is, even if it did, there would be no point to it because On the Buses was about non-PC humour. You can't be non-PC today and on the humour front. It's a big no-no. So that kills off one reason for it straight away. Obviously, it wouldn't have any of the original cast in it. That kills that another side of it off. It's not going to have the same writers in it, which kills it off straight. Another reason for saying a big no-no. So it's like when they talk about doing a new Carry On film. They keep coming up with this every few years. There's going to be a new Carry On film, a new team, and all of that. Well, why don't you just do a new series of comedy films and leave out the Carry On name and just call it something else? Like, I don't know what title, if you wanted to give it a sort of like running title, like up the, you know what I mean? Something like up the busman or something like that, or if it was about buses, or up the policeman if it was about the police force or something like that, with a whole new cast and looking at it with a whole new brand of humour, but don't make it anything to try and make it so you're comparing it with Carry On films, or if you see what I mean. Yeah, cheers, Jonathan. If you see what I'm saying there, it's like as you say there with your last line, yeah, it wouldn't be funny at all because you've got the it would be nothing like the on the buses that we knew and loved. You best just remembering it for what it was. You know what I mean? A piece of gold dust, and just cherish it for that rather than these people, not yourself, but you get people that come up on the other on Facebook groups saying, "Oh, why don't they do a remake?" Now, why would you want a remake? I do not say why you would want a remake anyway, if you see what I'm saying. To me, that makes it sound like, well, didn't you like the original enough? And if you want a remake of it, don't you realise what made it so good was the original cast members and the original writers. They are basically what made the whole thing tick. You can't just sort of like magic up. It's like music, for example. Queen still perform now, but I guarantee you that they're not a patch on the Queen that was with Freddie Mercury, because you cannot replace a legend. And all the On the Buses cast were legends in my eyes. So I mean, you can't really replace legends with non-entities. Porridge tried it. There's a great example. Cookmeister. Porridge tried it, and it was a bloody flop. And that was with the actual original writers, and it still flopped because the acting was so wooden, it was unbelievable. That's why it's not really even something that's even worth being spoken about. It just makes my blood boil when I hear people saying, "Why don't they do a remake? Why would you want a remake?" I could probably count on the fingers of one hand the amount of remakes I've watched. There've been anything like worth wiping the backside of the original film of it or the original TV series of it. There's just so many that are absolutely dire. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Best leaving them alone. Limey, nah, there was never any chance of that. They'd already signed up. When Reg left the TV, when Reg had to leave the TV series because of his ill health, he had two options. There was two options for Reg there. You could either leave at the end of Series 7, do all of Series 7 and miss the film, Holiday on the Buses, or he could do the what do you call it? He could do the what he done half of Series 7, then take his break and then come back for Holiday on the Buses, which is what he chose, obviously. I mean, Reg was a smart man anyway. He probably knew that was a thing to do because he could probably see as well when Michael left that the show lost a lot when Michael left at the end of Series 6. But he knew that Michael was going to be back and all the cast were going to be back together for Holiday on the Buses. And they knew, so to speak, that was the Oster back, if you know what I mean. Rather than staying with Sirius, it was sort of like on the wane, like they had lost Michael Robbins. Ronnie Wolf and Ronnie Chesney weren't writing the scripts anymore either. So it was a bit of a no-brainer for Reg what to do in terms of that. But they were always going to be down to be in it, if you see what I mean. Not that I know of. He was into sailing a lot. He liked to like Bob liked to sailing as well. I think Stephen was like that, a lot of that as well. He was very much into politics as well. He done a lot of sort of like canvassing for the Labour Party because he was a very staunch Labour Party member. Stephen was. Not sure about how much it was into wildlife, though. I don't think that was really something that was really big for them, if you see what I mean. That I know of, anyway. Yeah, all in my opinion, the Cookmeister, all classics are best being left alone. If you can tell me something classic or serious or a film that has been remade and you said, "Oh, that was brilliant," I'll give you a gold star for it because you won't be able to do it. I tell you. Look at the Italian Job, for example, that springs to mind, that they redone in the, when was it? Was it the 2000s? Early 2000s, I think it was. Not a patch on the 1969 film. No, it wasn't really a remake, but it was still sort of like stealing the whole idea and premise of it, really, if you see what I mean. The Poseidon Adventure film, tried doing a new version of that, not a patch on the original. Porridge, as I said, an absolute shocker. They tried doing a new Sweeney film, not a patch on the original, shocker. I could go on and on and on. Oh yeah, lots of them did. Damara Seaman was in it. Glenn Whistler was in Doctor Who as well. Stacks, there's just too many to even think about. There was a big crossover between one to the other, if you see what I mean. There was a lot that was in on the buses that would have been turned up in Doctor Who. Harry Fielder, who sadly passed away a few months ago, was another that crossed over. So many that I couldn't even begin to reel them off. Yeah, that was a good moment, Feathers. That was Percy Edwards who was doing those animal impressions, sounds, or something like that. Even gets a credit for it. It was a very great talent of that, making wildlife noises and all of that. Percy Edwards. So that noise that you heard, if that's why you said about a nature man, that noise that Blakey makes, it's not him making it. That was Percy Edwards. If you look up the man Percy Edwards, he was very famous for these bird impressions and other animals. Yeah, Kids Out, and that was from. Not for a while, really. Nah, when I watch things back to back, like if you see what I mean. Probably when it was on over Christmas, maybe or Easter, maybe um, in the recent past. I've maybe watched them back to back like that when they've been on ITV3 or something like that. But it's not something that I've sat down and done sort of like on my own, if you know what I mean, with my DVD box set or whatever. Unless I'm doing something like going through locations or something. But then I'm not really watching for the detail that they're not more for watching for the episodes, if you know what I mean. Sometimes you can watch them maybe two or three back to back if I'm trying to scour and track down clues for locations and all of that. I've maybe watched two or three back to back, not the whole episodes off, you know what I mean. So it's a bit of a cheat, really. I'll scot through to the bits that I know that's got the filming locations in. What match? I don't know what match you're on about. I'll be watching the Scotland games. That's what I'll be watching. um, Oh, she's been in the film just recently. There's a film that's just come out just recently that she's got a small part in. So she does still act when she gets offered the parts. Just they'll take them on, if you know what I mean. So she's not fully retired yet, if you know what I mean. She's getting offered parts, she'll take them on. Obviously, as and when. Well, no, nah, don't think so. Unless it's after the final whistle, I'll be having a Q&A to say why didn't Scotland get a penalty. That'll be the Q&A about it and things like that. Yeah, I'm not too sure the name of the film. It'll come back to me. Um, Probably if you're going to have a look on IMDb, you'll see it. It'll be at the top of the things that she's been in, obviously, because it's just recently been done. And it should be out and sort of like a latest credit, if you know what I mean. I think it's out of the pictures though, but I'm not. I don't think it's a massive part. My most difficult location to find. Well, there's that would be the ones. If you're talking about ones that I haven't found yet, there's ones that still haven't been found. So it'll be one of those because obviously they haven't been found yet. They are the ones from the episode um, where they crash a motorbike out in the country lane. What episode is that again? So series four episodes. I think it's the first one in series four. Nowhere to go. That's it. Nowhere to go. Like they haven't been found yet. But if you're talking about ones that I have actually found, then obviously they'd be ones that just recently I've managed to track down. If you see what I mean, which would be well, the ones from the Perfect Clippy were hard to find. That was the where the bus pulls into the depot and they get out and Olive takes them off for leaving the bus unattended. That was really tough to find. But there's been other ones just recently that have been found. I've got to visit them to photograph for confirmation and all of that. And those are ones from the episode we talked about earlier on the omnibus. So they're the locations like when mum's by the roadside and she's got the basket full of laundry and the bus stops then she goes to get on. And when you see the nanny with a pram walking along the road and starts getting chased by the bus, those locations have been found now. It's just a matter of going back to them and photographing them, getting a like for like and all of that. So those ones are obviously very hard to find as well because they've only just been found. So just a reminder to anybody there that was that's on now watching. If you haven't already subscribed, go on and click the button at the bottom of the screen to subscribe. And then anytime I'm on live or I post up any new video content, you'll get a notification whenever you visit YouTube to say that I've got new content on and all of that. Obviously, times like this, when I've got a live question time, you might miss out with a posted links to it and all of that. So you'll get the nod then. You don't have to pay anything for it. So free anyway. So keep the questions coming in. Any more on the buses questions? Can be about filming locations, about the walking tours organised, or the events in Borehamwood organised, or books, or the cast, the crew. Well, that would be the plan, obviously, in due course. But the problem is with my filming location book, obviously, this is the. I'll just get it and show you just now. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Like that is the original copy of it, and look how broad that is, and that's got 200. Now, if you look how wide this book is, and this has got, I think it's got like 210 or something like that. Yeah, so this has got 206 locations in it. If you look how broad that is, 206 locations. At the moment, the new one for the new locations that I've found, you're probably talking close to 500. So it would be double the size of that. And look how wide that book is. So that'd be the problem with doing a new version. And this was like $13.99 because it has all the photographs in it. The more photographs you have in books, the more it's going to cost to print and publish. So with our filming locations book with 500 locations, you're talking about upping the costs, the production costs of the book as well, which would make it very difficult to get out there. I'd have to look into it when I come round to thinking about doing another updated version of that book, if you see what I mean. I mean, there are sort of like material out there for on the buses that could maybe squeeze out another book from, but it has to be the right sort of like way that it's structured and all that. So it's something that we need to be given a lot of thought to, if you know what I mean. I don't know, probably Pat Ashton or Gwendolyn Watts, I would say. Gwendolyn Watts or Pat Ashton. Well, sadly, have passed away now as well. Oh yeah, Caroline died as well, yeah. Been in touch with her as well about doing an event. Whether that happens or not, we'll have to keep our fingers crossed and see some point in the future. That's all right, Paul. Nice to see you here. Yeah, I do believe so, Limey. Yeah, Pat was sad about Pat when Pat passed away. Obviously, was never the only one newspaper reported Pat passing away. I think that might have been something like the Express or the Times, and the only reason that they reported it was because Pat's son worked for that newspaper. So if he hadn't worked for a newspaper, then Pat's passing away would never have made the press at all. Tragic, really. And I think I've said it before as well somewhere else. Bill Maynard, who I was speaking with, I was in close contact with, had a couple of interviews, chats with him, and all of that. And he said that well, it was like maybe 3 interviews I think I'd done. He said that the best mistake he made in his life was involving Pat Ashton, because obviously she was in the series The Gaffer. They were doing the screen test for the role of the secretary. Pat Ashton was one of them, and there was another lady, I can't remember what her name was, but when the producer said, which one did you prefer, Bill? And Bill didn't know, he got the two ladies mixed up. He preferred the other lady. He preferred the other lady for the part, and not Pat, but he called her Pat Ashton. So Pat Ashton actually got the part, and Bill says that it's the best mistake he ever made, because Pat Ashton was absolutely brilliant in the role. He said, even though he had initially wanted the other woman, but got the names mixed up. He said it's the best mistake he ever made in show business. So you got any more questions? Keep them coming in. Just post them up and I'll answer them as soon as I see them on the screen. Anything to do with the episodes, the films, the cast, the crew, filming locations, anything to do with the events organised, anything at all, just pop them up and I'll answer them. So just keep those questions coming in. As long as I've got questions coming in, I'm happy to stay online. Yeah, Jean's still with us. She never went into acting. She took up teaching. She's still a teacher to this day. So just because she was in the film, don't get mistaken thinking she went into acting as well, because yeah, she didn't. She always wanted to be a teacher, and that's what she went on to become. Yeah, no problem. Cheers, Cockmeister. Cheers, Limey. Neil, sorry. Hope you enjoyed the night, and we'll hope to see you again sometime when I do my next Q&A. As I say, anyone that's on the night watching, if you want to subscribe, head on down the bottom of the screen there. Hopefully, maybe in the next few days, I'll get down to doing the second episode of On the Buses and our live sort of reaction commentaries sort of type thing. Okay, so keep the questions coming in. Any more questions? Feel free to post them up. I'm happy to hang around as long as I've got the questions coming in. Just to say, I am, as I say, on my Facebook group as well. I have talked about my thoughts on having something like a walking tour in Boreham Wood. Probably be maybe August, September time, sometime around about then. Obviously, the details will post up. Will be on the Facebook group. I think you must be a few of you are members there that would have thought. So keep an eye on that there for any announcements that I make about further planning to do maybe a couple of locations tours around Boreham Wood where they made the three spin-off films. Okay, I'll give you about another 5 minutes. I've not got another fresh influx of questions. I'll call it a night. Okay, it's good. The questions have dried up a bit now. As for that walking tour, I'll ramble on in the meantime. I'll wait to see if there's any questions coming in. The walking tour, the idea of it would probably be two over a weekend. So one on the Saturday, maybe another on the Sunday, in different parts of Boreham Wood, one around the central areas of Boreham Wood. The second would would be around the northern end of Bournemouth. Um, Obviously, people that are coming to the event who live in the London area, they'd be fine. They wouldn't need to bother with hotels. But if you live further afield, like I would, obviously I've been up in Edinburgh, I would need to travel down and stay in a hotel in Bournemouth for a day, maybe two, um, before heading back again. So that's the sort of idea I'm kicking around with. Fee for it would probably be, I'm thinking maybe £15 for two walking tours over 2 days. It's just an idea just now. Hi, Les. Good to see you here. It's all right if you're not there. You're not to know what questions have been asked before. For the episodes, if the episodes have been filmed in a week, so basically, at the start of the week, the Monday would be when the scripts would be dished out to the cast. Obviously, they'd have a day to rehearse it, day or two, and then the Wednesday, Thursday times would be the slots to do location shooting if any of that was needed. Friday night, I think they were done. That's when they done a rehearsal run through of the recording of it before recording it for hopefully they would record it all and then edit all the location bits into it as well. And the episode will be done for the following weekend, if you see what I mean. So be about maybe 5 days, probably in production from episode 5 6 days, 5 6 days from scripts getting done to actually being finished up and edited and all that. As for the films were done over about a span of like a month. They were filmed within. That's how quickly they bashed them out, the films. Each of the films would have been done in a month spell. I think the first film they started filming it in April and finished it in May. End of April, finished it end of May. That was out for the summer. Second film, I think they filmed that more in towards February time, February into about March. And the third film, that was filmed from in May into June. Okay, so any more questions like Les just posted there, that would be great. Let's post them up. And as I say, if you're new, just click on the subscribe button at the bottom of the screen. Then anytime I've got my live videos going up, like this one, or any new location videos or anything that I post up, then you'll be the first to know about it because you'll get a little notification. So just keep your questions coming in. I'll answer them for you. Yeah, so the locations tours would run for probably about, depending on how expansive, how much I wanted to fit into each one, probably run for about maybe 2.5 hours. it would all be on foot, so you'd need to be quite healthy to do it, obviously. Somebody did mention about saying, why don't you hire a bus? It's just not financially viable. I might only get 5 people wanting to turn up for it, which is £75 is nowhere near enough to hire a bus and what do you call it, driver, if you see what I mean. So that's why it's all really got to be done on foot. Boreham Wood's a relatively small, compact place anyway, so it's not like you're going to be walking miles and miles for it, if you see what I mean. So keep your questions coming in. Any more questions like Les posted there? That'd be great. It's quite ironic, really, about Les, going back to Les's question there about the length of time. As I say, they took about 5 days to get it all done and wrapped and then edited and everything like that. Stuart Allen, to me, was the best producer of On the Buses. He produced series 1, 2, 3, and 4. He also had a big hand in the casting of the parts, along with the writers as well, and a man called Richard Price, who was at LWT. So Stuart Allen was a real big part in getting On the Buses off the ground and getting the UC Eastern National Bus Depot. That was all his hard work. When Rupert Murdoch became executive at LWT, that'd be around about 71. He had a meeting with Stuart Allen. He said to Stuart Allen, I want you to do 2 episodes On the Buses a week. Stuart Allen said it wasn't possible. There wasn't the time for it. And they got sacked. He sacked Stuart Allen, and because Stuart Allen told us this at one of our events, he got sacked for that. But then it was Derek Goodwin who took over as producer for Series 5. They never got round to doing 2 episodes a week anyway. So why they sacked Stuart Allen for that, I'll just never know. I really won't. It's really nasty. So any more questions? Just keep them coming in and I'll answer them for you. In terms of how they all fitted in together, in terms of the TV series and the films, then the TV series came first. Obviously, you had Series 1, Series 2, Series 3, Series 4, and then after Series 4, the first film was made. So the first film came after Series 4 had been made, and then after the first film came Series 5. Then I think it was Series 6. Then they done Mutiny on the Buses. Then they done Series 7. Then they done Holiday on the Buses. So that's how it all sort of like panned out in terms of the order of filming. So, any more questions, anyone? As I said, I'm happy to stay online and answer away as long as I'm getting questions coming in. I'm happy to answer. So, any more questions? I'll give you another 5 minutes. If get no more questions, I'll wrap it up for the night. As long as I've got questions coming in, I'm happy to stay online for you. And by the way, if anyone's interested as well, John Lyons, who was on the buses, he's been to a couple of on the buses events in Boreham Wood. Really lovely bloke. He was in about half a dozen episodes, I think, in total of On the Buses. Then went on to be DS Toolin and A Touch of Frost. He's got his autobiography out now. I'll just hold on a sec and I'll be back just now. So that's it there. If anyone's interested, it's called Not Just George. John Lyons' book. It's got a foreword by David Jason in it. If you want to nip out and get that, I'm sure it's a great read. I've not started on it yet. I just got my copy yesterday. Well, that's what it's called anyway. Not Just George by John Lyons. Okay, any more questions? Keep them coming in. You know what to do, just post up your message on the screen there. As soon as I see it, I'll answer your question as soon as I see it. Okay. Any questions? Into the last 5 minutes now. If I don't have any more questions, I'll call it a night. Just pop up your questions on the screen. I'll answer them as soon as I see them. I'm just trying to see if I can dig out the autograph that I was telling people about earlier that I got of Glenn Witter. Should be around somewhere. Hurry up and get your questions in while I'm waiting. Is this it? That's not it. Oh, there it is. There's Glenn Witter's autograph there. That was shortly just before he passed away, sadly. Okay, just any more questions? Just hurry up and get them in. Be online for another couple of minutes if questions don't start coming in. As I say, I will hopefully get round to doing another episode review as well in the next few days. Hopefully, we'll find some time to do the second episode as a sort of review, sort of commentary type thing. The first one's already up there, so if you go and have a look in amongst my videos, you'll see it in amongst there. The sound's not too great on it, but hopefully I've rectified that because I've now got a new microphone, which you can see here. Okay, right, there's no more questions coming in. I'm going to wrap it up for the night. So I'd just like to thank everyone for popping in and asking questions. And so until next time, I'll say good night, okay?